Greetings and welcome to Star Trek Discovery Pod, a sometimes funny, trying to be smart podcast. Can't talk tonight. We're covering all things new in classic Trek. Long live the Empire! I am your captain, Myrriah Gossett. With me on the view screen, we have
Clyde Haynes getting ready for an away mission, but wanted to stop by the
Clyde.
Mirrorverse.
And your tether, Paul Satachet.
Oh, we got the tethers. We got them coming. Clyde already had to bounce out, but he might be back in a little bit. He has to get prepped for an away mission.
You're losing it.
Totally losing it, guys. It's going to be okay. We are rewatching Star Trek Discovery in preparation for its final season, which is coming in April 2024, which I just found out is having its premiere episode at South by Southwest in March. And I am really sad that South by badges are $1,600. So
are you kidding? Really?
I'm not kidding. For like the only way to get into those bigger screenings is like to have a platinum badge, and a platinum badge is $1,600. So
wow. But you know, but like lowly like worker badges, like, you know.
I mean, you'd have to wait outside in line, like at starting at like, if the screening's at 6 p.m., you got to be there at like 10 a.m. Yeah, and just waiting forever. Can't do anything else. So we shall see. But tonight we're going to discuss from season 1, episode 9, Into the Forest I Go, episode 10, Despite Yourself, and episode 11, The Wolf Inside. Just a couple of reminders. Paul, what should people be doing to help and support us? And maybe, you know, join us. And if there's enough patrons, I can go to the premiere at South by.
Wow, you could go to the premiere. That's some Terran ass thinking there.
Yeah. Captain Killy for the win.
That's right. Let's see. I'm supposed to remind our listeners, hey, please subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. All links are at StarTrekPod.co. And if you love our content or like our content or tolerate our you know, like please consider donating to our Patreon for $2 per episode. Patreon at patreon.com/StarTrekPod. I'm infected by what you got.
I know. It's we got the stumbly bumblies tonight, but it's okay.
This is not so good.
Clyde, do you want to remind people how they can participate in the chat if they're hanging out with us live?
Absolutely. If you're watching us live, then just type capital P, capital O, capital D, capital Pod in the chat, and we'll take a look, listen, and read through your thoughts. And in a moment, we're gonna say, hey, we're gonna do a thing. You're gonna know what it is. And then when you want to participate as part of that thing, just type capital H, capital F, capital HF in the chat, and we'll take a look at your overall thoughts of the episodes.
Indeed. Clyde, you missed one of our brand new sweet little video bumpers last week, but I think it might be time for us to go ahead and jump into episode 9 with a couple of, I don't know.
Fast Freak.
Wow.
It's time for some fast breaks. You got to look over your shoulder. Let us know what you thought, what you think. Okay, let's start with we'll go through episode 9 first, Into the Forest I Go. This was directed by Chris Byrne, written by Bo Young Kim and Erica Lapolte. Thoughts, opinions, ideas, concepts. This was a big cliffhanger episode right before a break in the season. So I think that's also important to note.
This was the cliffhanger, or
yes.
This was. Oh, okay. Well, I guess I'll go first. Yeah, I thought the episode was great. Like, you know, it pays off a few things. Like, you know, I'm not in love with like 140, 30 something jumps. You know,
133 jumps.
That just seems like kind of arbitrary, a little dopey. And on this watch, like, you know, I go like, huh. The moment that the Klingon ship cloaked, you know, like how does Discovery know it just didn't move away?
Well, I think you can see it as it like goes into cloaky mode.
Yeah. So then it goes into cloaky mode, and then it cloaks out, and then it's invisible, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they don't know. They could like lose signal. They could just like get on out of here while in. I don't think they can go and warp in cloak mode, but they could not be in that area anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, and like the scar could literally just pop into them like a black alert. Oh crap, we're our ships have collided.
Yeah.
That said, like I feel like you could make the argument that the two like beacons in the ship could have helped Discovery.
Perchance, yeah, kind of situate itself and know where to be. I guess that is kind of a logic jump there. But yeah, I agree. There were some things that I thought paid off really well in this episode. I really loved the hand-to-hand combat between Burnham and Cole. I felt like that fight was fun to watch, and I wish we had actually gotten to stick with it a little bit more. And I think the Cornwall rescue, the Ash Tyler beginning of his end, kind of starting here, and that we get kind of this big push at the very end that we now know Lorca has really been doing all of this to chart a way to get back to the Terran Empire, as he puts in the unknown destination. But let's go ahead and start from the top. So we have the ship kind of hanging out in around Pavo. They've been ordered to leave, but of course Lorca is like, no, we're not going to leave. I've come up with this ingenious plan, and we're going to find a way to figure out why and how these ships are cloaking.
But they leave, right? They leave. And they
Yeah,
just black
they
alert
do
back.
technically leave. Yeah, they don't black alert. They go at like warp 3 or whatever.
Yeah, but they'll black alert back.
Correct. What did you think of I think some of the more dramatic work was in that small weird body room as Ash Tyler has his sort of PTSD moment upon seeing Laurel. What did you think of that sort of scene between him and Burnham? You've got a lot of relationships. So you have him and Burnham, you have him and Laurel, and then you also have Cornwall, who's trying to sort of play therapist in this situation.
I think the person who comes off the best to me is
Me.
Cornwall. That's right. I think she's like, I got this. She feels like a Starfleet officer who has some like pull, like like this PTSD. He's gonna be no good to you, which I believe in all cases. Ash Tyler is no good to anyone. But I think she does pretty well in that. I'm not exactly sure why Laurel just sits in a room with dead bodies.
Well, I think she was presumed dead is why she was tossed in there.
Well, I mean, like they were going to maybe wait. I think from the episode before, she was told to they threw her in the room. I take it back.
Yeah, it was punishment. They threw her in the room, and when she got into the room, she realized all of my people are here dead. So it was like, hey, this is what we think of you. We're gonna deal with you later, but now sit amongst your dead brethren. Like it's actually a pretty horrific thing to do to somebody.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's lots of horrific things happening in this Klingon war, but I did think the plan was interesting from Lorca for this. And do you think I guess my question is like, do you think he was only solely focused on the jumps to solve the cloaking problem? Or do you think because he had been working on mapping all of this for so long that he knew this was the rest of the data he needed to get back home?
I think it's probably a little bit of both. I think Lorca's the type of person who he wanted to defeat. Like he wanted that sense of accomplishment, right? And so I think he ultimately wanted to defeat the Klingons. I thought that it wasn't until he realized that he was being recalled to Starbase 46 that he realized I can't stay here. And that was the moment where it was like, all right, I need one more jump. It's time to go home. That's what I figured. It's like, okay. And I'm it's so fascinating rewatching this with the eye of multiple seasons under your belt, because now you just see everything Lorca does screams, I love Burnham. And I'm kind of a homicidal maniac.
Yeah. Full
like,
Terran.
full Terran. Like it's so obvious now. It's like, how did we not see this through the first watch? And so his actions now are just in line with that. Like everything he does with Cornwall up until the last minute where he's like, hey, Stamets, I need you just to do it. And then it's like the whole manipulation between one more jump was like, wow,
Yeah.
man.
I think to me, it's like from the minute he sends Cornwall to what is obviously a trap after the threat of him being removed from the ship, to me is when like the spidey senses start to go off. And I know it is hard to like fully, I keep trying to remember from like first watch what the like shocking inkling that I had around him was. And I feel like that's where it started. And so then to me, this episode really cements it because it is that quick little gesture into the computer before the jump where you're like, oh, you are up to no good, sir. Like, what is going on? Yeah.
Well, we're in agreement that Lorca's the hero of this show, right?
I
Oh,
mean,
here
it's
we
why
go.
our Slack is called the Lorca's Menagerie.
Well, I
Um,
mean, so back in season 1, if you go back and listen to those pods, what you'll find is not uncommon to my relationship with Paul. Mike Moody Garcia was a huge Lorca fan, and I thought he was sus from day one. But I am not going to take credit that I had any idea of what he was up to. There was just something about him that didn't sit right with me. But Mike was a fan of Lorca and his menagerie, and I thought it was a little bit creepy.
I mean, I think it's Jason Isaacs is very compelling. I loved
Amazing.
we eventually in the next episode we get, or in one of the 3 that we watched, we get his in 10 his his actual accent as his fake accent to be an engineer. But yeah, I think he is like very compelling. I think it's like, even when he does his little eye drop so he can really watch the Klingon ship explode, at the end of this episode, it really cements like his character personality of like, oh, I'm here for death and destruction and only for what is going to serve me, not necessarily what's going to serve everyone else, but I'm really good at playing when things seem to serve everyone else in order to advance my own personal journeys, right?
Yeah. I've got to head out, but I did want to say this really is a 3-episode kind of arc that I thought was amazing.
It's
And
a
it
good
just
set.
it just continues to build. And what we see from particularly Burnham's evolution, Lorca's revelation, and Ash Tyler, I'm not gonna get any spoilers, is just amazing. So anyway, enjoy chatting about it. I'll be listening as I continue, but I can't wait to talk more about this. Live long and prosper, guys.
Bye, Clyde. Thanks for popping in. We'll see you soon.
Bye, Clyde.
Yeah, so I think this was like a nice way to sort of wrap up the first half of the season. What did you think of this as a cliffhanger?
I thought it was fine. Like I thought it could have just ended like in season like this season 1 here, and
Mm.
like I'm probably a little like for those who haven't watched or should watch or like it's been years, so like you should catch up. But like once they jump to the Terran universe,
Mhm.
like for me, I felt like that was a hat on a hat.
Hmm.
Where I go like, oh, like as far as for what season does, like you've
Oh,
are
you're like, this feels like it should be the beginning of a next season.
yeah, like like and then tying it back to uh like the way the rest of the season, I just felt like I would have preferred to explore the Klingon War longer and just be done with
Mhm.
that, or the Terran mishap longer. But
Yeah.
like so it felt like really rushed in that way. There were like 2 concepts that were being fought. And I can see in retrospect, like, with with the Alice in Wonderland Looking Glass and
Mhm.
blah blah blah. I can see how they're trying to blend it together. But like, Bar- Burnham's journey is like sort of different in the Terran universe than she is in like, in the what you call it? Uh in the the Prime universe. Like
Mhm.
her first, her problem like in up to now is like, did I make a mistake and will I be accepted? You know, right? Like she's trying to go like I'm a prisoner. I have a life sentence. I love that I have a life sentence. Like that's her problem.
Mhm.
And she like, will I be able to be back into Starfleet? And
Mhm.
that, whereas like, in the Terran universe, which I like both of them separately. My problem is not that like, the Terran part sucks. In fact, my favorite episodes in Discovery are the Terran episodes.
Mhm.
Not just this, but like the one in season three, right? Season three, season
Yeah,
four.
there's quite a few peppered throughout, but yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
So
I can see that for sure. It does feel like I will say it does feel like a very distinct shift for obvious reasons once we jump into the Terran Empire, but it also feels like, hashtag spoiler alert, but when we do come back, it's like, to your point, Paul, we've skipped a lot of the rest of the Klingon War. And so it does feel like it was like, oh, we to echo your point, it's like we had two ideas and we wanted to do them both in this first season instead of committing to like, oh, we're going to end on this cliffhanger of like where have we jumped to, and then the next season will start with this. Or I don't know, but I guess if you like, it's like,
like
do you then drag out the Klingon War more to get to the Terran jump at the very end of the season? Like how would you
so,
reconcile that?
like episode 9 is where 10,
Yeah,
yeah, but not 9 is where it ends. Like
end of
there are
9, yeah.
9 episode seasons. Like they could have and just like have an extra season, like a longer Terran part. I have to say though, I did not watch this in sequence in the sense that I wasn't there live watching this, and then there
Yeah,
was a big
I've
cliffhanger.
I've only ever binged this show,
Yeah.
yeah, this
So
season.
so I do wonder if it in such if I were watching it live and you go bam, like, oh my god, where they jump to? They don't know. And because
Mhm.
oh my god, we're in the Terran, like if there was like a month lapse, then
Probably even longer, because yeah, the 9 aired in November, 12th of 2017, and the second half didn't start till January 7th. So you had like 2 months
so
between.
I do feel like if that were the case, there is a possibility where I go like it would have blown my mind.
Yeah, you'd be
Oh
like,
my
"Oh
god! Oh my
god."
god!
Yeah.
Oh, it's so
You've
good!
been
It's so
talking
good!
all winter holiday break of where could they have jumped to,
Yeah,
you
like
know?
so I have to give it that credit. Like like
Mhm.
I don't know, but watching it, binging it, it's like oh, this feels like a narrative hiccup
Yeah,
to me.
yeah, no, I can definitely see that. Kind of jumping into 10, so jumping into what they call chapter 2 of the first season. We are in with a bang. This one is Despite Yourself. It is directed by Jonathan Frakes and and written by Sean Cochran.
Was it a quick freak or was it a hot freak, a cold freak? It's just freak.
It's just a freak, but I think it is now time for some
Rara Rapid Riker.
Is there a reason why you use the like robot voice? You know?
oh, instead of me, because I just didn't feel like yelling into a microphone when I made these.
Okay, that's good. That's good too.
If you want to send me, actually, so here's the thing, listeners, viewers, if
Yeah,
you
that's
want to
good.
send me you yelling, hot freaks, cold, any of these options, rapid Rikers, we've got
We got
a
space for you.
fast freaks, whatever you are feeling. If you want to send me an audio message, you can email it to us. You can send it to me on Instagram. Send it to us in the Slack. I will happily remix and make and have some fun with some of that audio. Um, I just didn't at the time. I had been editing my voice all day and didn't feel like editing yet more of my voice. So I did the robot voice instead. But I digress. Paul, what did you think of episode 10, Despite Yourself?
I mean, it has the intro of Killy, and like
Ugh,
Killy is my like. I love Killy.
Killy is great.
Like,
It
like
is it is a really fun, slow onion reveal of this universe we're about to spend a
mhm.
couple of episodes in. And it is really fun. It's really campy. It's so evil mustache twirly, and I really enjoy it.
Yeah, no, yeah, like I think what I really like about the Killy character is, or Tilly's journey to Killy,
Mhm.
uh, is that she's such the meekest character, and she has to be the most over character, like an
Oh yeah.
extra care. And so like even the fact that she has to do that is narratively warranted, despite the fact that it's ridiculous, you know.
Yeah. I
So
I think the other thing I really enjoyed about this episode is Sonequa Martin Green's performance of having to have this like duality of playing this really strong Terran character, but at the same time is encountering a bunch of people who died at the thing that sent her to prison.
sure.
And I thought she really played it so beautifully. And there's like a lot of really interesting nuance to her performance. And then the thing that really bugs me about this episode is when Ash Tyler kills Culber and we have our big bury your gaze episode, which I know at the time was a very controversial episode.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I have no problem with Ash killing the doctor, because I already knew Ash sucks. Ash sucks. He's always sucked, you know. And so when he did that, I was like, oh yeah, I was right.
You're like, pat on my back. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, I
no,
mean, I know ultimately we get Colbert back, but I know at the time it was like quite a big controversy and like what are some way like I don't know. I think you could have accomplished all of this and made him incapacitated,
sure,
you
sure.
know, and not have killed off the character
Yeah,
for
I,
me, but
yeah. I don't think they knew how popular. Uh,
it's Wilson fucking Cruz, people.
yeah,
Like,
I don't think they realized how, like from what I understand of like the show The Blacklist.
mhm,
You know, there's a show called The Black. Anyway, uh, James Spader was not the first choice. And in fact, like you know, it was uh, well, how should I say? In fact, like it was one of those things where you can't even imagine uh what the show would be without Spader.
mhm,
And so in this way, like Culber, like I don't think like they could just imagine, like they probably had the scripts written, and then they just didn't realize the you know, impact, and like he just did it so well as far as like what the show needed, and like you know,
mhm.
so
Yeah, it is also interesting. It's been really fun going back to this season and seeing the growth of Culber's character because I think we do see these small inklings of this like therapist type
mhm,
of voice in how he communicates with the
mhm.
rest of the crew and how he is like working with all of them. So I think it's been a really lovely build of his character, which is why it really stinks that they decide, you know, it's like then this person is essentially killed and then has to be rebuilt from like a mirror version of him, and so it's like is this the same person? I guess it's the same person, and it feels like we just like in future seasons forget a lot of that for Culber's character.
Which is fine. Like you know, like you forget that you know, like uh Beverly Crusher disappeared for a while, like
Right.
for whatever reason, and oh well, like you know, let's uh let's bring Tasha Yar back, but like she's dead, so like let's you know let's have her be Tasha Yar's daughter, but half Romulan. Like there's a whole lot of history of
Right.
the tradition of going, whoops, we messed up. Let's let's mulligan.
Let's fix this. But yeah, I was just like, you can't cast Wilson Cruz and Anthony Rapp as a couple and then kill one of them off. Like
No,
it's like anyway. Not anyway. It was a big deal and I think it's something that they've always kind of had to deal with in the repercussions. But I think Discovery as a whole has done a great job of fixing this error. But I understand the amount of reaction to this, and I think it was justified. Um, I do think it is kind of sweetly Terranly delicious in a way to watch Lorca have to be put in these like Terran torture chambers, knowing what he has essentially done to the most of his crew in order to selfishly serve his own interests.
Well, it's interesting because I was watching, like him in the booth for a while, and I go like, oh, I wonder what Clyde would be like, the mirror Clyde,
Mm.
and I wonder what mirror Myrriah would be, you know. But then I go, what would mirror me be? And I go like, I think I'm the same.
You're the same. Maybe it's just so farly different, Paul. You can't even think about it.
Maybe, but like, what would different Paul? What would mirror Paul be? I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know.
Like if you do the Myers Briggs stuff, like my Myers Briggs is where there's a dark and they're like, oh, here this person, like you could be like Jesus or Hitler, like like you could take your personality and it could, there's the good version and the bad version. My
Mhm.
good versions and bad versions, very gray. Very, very gray. Like they're
Oh, here Chippy has it for you. You are Smiley/O'Brien. He was close to the same.
yeah, okay. Thanks, Chippy. I think that might be one
Yeah,
is
I don't know.
more mildly forlorn than the other. Both forlorn.
Yeah, I think the other thing that was so impressive to me for this episode is the amount of costuming and set deck. Like this
Mhm.
is a lot of work to put in for a couple of episodes. I
Yeah.
mean, I know they're using it for a few, but it is a commitment to
Sure.
re-costume an entire crew.
Yeah, no, this was going to be their flagship. Like as far as like the reintroduction of Star Trek, they
Mhm.
spent some money. Like you look at the special effects; they're
Yeah.
stunning.
Yeah, they really spent it. And I love the Terran uniforms. I think they're
Yeah.
so slick and the gold armor just looks
Mhm.
so cool.
Sure.
I just think it looks really great. It's just something every time we watch anything that takes place in the Terran Empire, I'm like, oh, the costumes are gonna be so good. Why do you think villains have better outfits than heroes?
Because villains care about style.
Mm,
Because villains have to worry about how they look. Whereas, like, can you imagine like Superman having a conversation? Goes like, oh, what should my uniform? What should my outfit be? Like, what would inspire hope and blah blah blah. Whereas like a villain go like, what should I wear to inspire fear and
mm.
and submission? Like it's just they're more communicative about it, they're more honest about what they want to do, I suppose.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that there's always like even in the regular timeline of
Prime.
Discovery of Prime, yeah, we have like to me it's like the amount of detail and work that's put into like the Klingons outfits and sets and everything in
Sure, sure.
comparison is very interesting just to think about. Maybe all artists are a little bit villainous at the end.
No, all artists are at the very least selfish.
Mm.
You have to be.
Yeah, you have to have a little bit of narcissism, right?
Yeah.
You gotta be thinking about how this is gonna be received.
No.
Um, Kuhn says, and this is interesting, it was a little creepy for Michael to name the Kelpian slave as Saru, considering he was doing things like bathing her. I think it was just that it popped out of her mouth because that's the only Kelpian that she knows.
But point taken.
Yeah, it is a little creepy. And it's weird when she's like, to honor someone that I know, like that's also a strange way to justify it. But
Like what also weird is like what if his name was Saru?
that would be what I mean, she asked, what is your name? He didn't know, but
Well, he said he has no name, but like I don't know if that's a true statement.
yeah, like don't you have something that maybe you think of yourself as? I guess. I don't know.
I
But
don't know, like I
that's
imagine
pretty
like
fucked up psychologically if you've been so not humanized in his case, but you know what I mean? Like you've been pushed to the brink of not having any self-worth that you don't even think about giving yourself a name. I mean, to me, that says the most about how terrible the Terrans are.
I don't know. I think they're very efficient.
Oh, Paul. Oh no. Okay. We also get the big reveal that Tyler is now aware of like a vocal trigger from Laurel and that they've had this relationship. We get pretty intense visuals of his torture and sexual assault. We also get the information from Culber that ultimately kills him is that he reveals to Tyler that it seems like he is not all human and a lot of really terrible things occurred to him. This is always the part of this season that I think I just like mentally block out, which is like
The
how
trauma part.
the trauma part, but then also like how they managed to do the like the Volk to Tyler transformation.
Oh, what you do is like you take the human body, or take the Klingon body, you
Uh-huh.
kind of crush it into like the size of like Tyler, and
Mhm.
then you replace the marrow with like Klingon, like human marrow, and then you put a what you call it, a persona on top of your own, only to be removed when it's classic stuff that I do all the time.
Classic. So
This,
easy
this,
to
this,
understand and
this,
explain.
this is really, it's easily easy done. Like, you can transform like a cow into like a monkey.
I feel like it would have made more sense to me if it was like, oh, we hook your heads up to two things and we
Exactly.
can zap your memories into this person who's already a human who already
and
exists.
and that has always bugged me. That's why I don't love this part where I'm going like you've really just made it
So complicated.
like, you exist in the future.
Yeah. I was like, if we can like mind meld so that Burnham
As a
can
part of
communicate.
Sarek's soul.
Yeah, and can communicate across the galaxy.
Yeah.
There isn't a way to just be like, we're gonna take Vok's brain and put it into this man's body. Anyway, very strange, but we get the first kind of reveal here.
But then no trauma. There's no trauma scenes.
Then there is no trauma. But I mean, I think there would be because Ash Tyler was a real person, so it has to be like someone that was actually tortured. So
So
anyway.
it would be basically like Ash Tyler in the sunken place. That's what would be effectively.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. That to me would have made more sense. This is definitely maybe one of the darkest episodes I've seen Frakes direct.
I never thought of that. Like, I don't know. I feel like Star Trek 7, is that it? No, 8. Star Trek 8, when the Borg go back in time. I think that was a pretty dark. I mean, it's not as psychologically dark, but like it was horror-esque, and Frakes directed that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen it, but like,
If I have, it's been a long time, but it just like it didn't have. I feel like there's episodes I can watch and be like, this is a Frakes episode, and to me, this didn't have that like. I mean, I think the fight sequences were really cool, but like,
it didn't have that like light touch.
yeah, there's usually something that feels like, I don't know, a little hopeful, a little like, this one's so heavy that I was just it was interesting to me that this is an episode that they decided to have him direct, but yeah. But I do think, I guess where I can see it is in that like beginning world building stuff, because I do think he does a good job of like table setting and like bringing us into the world that we're.
I like that.
And figuring out where we kind of are in this universe. So
which one's Sub Rosa?
That's the ghost one.
Did Frakes direct that? Because I would love if he directed that.
That would be wild. I don't know if he directed Sub Rosa. Now I have to Google it, guys.
No, that
it is directed by Frakes.
So there you go. There you go.
Wild.
Everyone, everyone has their, like, not everything is purely white and not everything is purely black.
Yes, we have to live in the grays.
That's right.
Okay, I think let's go ahead and jump into episode 11, The Wolf Inside. This is actually, I guess I'll do yet another
Cold freight.
time for the cold break. So episode 11, The Wolf Inside. This was directed by TJ Scott, written by Lisa Randolph. We get to go onto a planet, which I'm excited about, in the Terran Empire, and we get to see sort of this coalition of species, and Burnham's like, oh my God, they got Klingons to work with other species. How did this happen? And I really enjoyed this episode a lot. I think this one, to me, this one felt a little nostalgic at times, but still felt new enough with the way that it was approaching it.
Mhm.
And I think I enjoyed, like, there was some really good tension building in this episode, and then the reveal at the end for me. I still remember my feeling of like, hell yeah, they got Michelle Yeoh back in here, because I remember being so sad at the top
Like you got gypped.
that I was like, I was so emotionally like ready to watch Michelle Yeoh in a freaking Star Trek show, and then you took her away from me, and then to see her come back as the Emperor in this episode was like, I went, I will give you all of my money. I will watch this forever. Like, I was so excited. What was your cold freak?
Like I think the episode was great. I suppose what if I were to be nitpicky about on this version here, like on this like run through, the thing that pissed me off was not pissed me off, but like was Burnham trying to figure out how do we get the Klingons to blah blah
Mhm.
blah blah. Because first of all, you don't even know if the Klingons are like warrior here. Like like you don't.
Yes, that's true.
Take it back. Like you allegedly have done your research and all that stuff, but like in the end, you don't know if they're what you're going to learn is going to be
Applicable.
applicable. Exactly. And so why risk it so much? Why? So I have that. It's that aside. Like I really like Tyler's unzipping and going full
Mhm.
Klingon. I really I would say I don't say I really like that. I go like, oh, I can see that. Like the last episode, one of my favorite sequences was when Laurel was talking to Tyler
Mhm.
and saying the prayer, and they shot it really slickly. I thought like, oh, this
Yeah.
feels really, and like whenever Volk and Tyler are in conflict, like the camera work is really good.
Yeah, I think they do a good job of that. Like, you can really feel him being like, I am looking at myself, and this is not what is supposed to be happening in my universe, right? And
Mhm.
it's that, like, it feels very primal in some ways.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah.
Yeah, but it goes pretty quick, right? Like it just goes, here I am. Uh, I go down, talkie. I come back up. I'm a bad guy, and it's over. Like I was surprised in how few plot points that there were, but it was still a full episode. So I'm not exactly sure where all the time went. It just did.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of time spent with Saru and Tilly trying to solve the
Oh, that's right.
Culber.
There. That's where it is. Yeah.
Kind of the Culber mystery, and then they are also then trying to get uh Stamets back up and running in some way, shape, or form, to find a way to get out of here. I do think it's interesting. In the chat, they're talking about, so Kim points out that Sarek is the leader of the Resistance, since we know in the original series that Spock served in the Terran Empire, in the Mirror universe. And so then Sheepy points out, I guess Mirror Spock was just as rebellious as Prime Spock, which is like a fun thing for both of those characters, to know that they are somewhat similar on the inside, I guess, as well. I think we also get some really good Captain Tilly. We get both Captain Killy moments, and I think great Tilly moments. We
Mhm.
really get to see her shine. I love the moment between Saru and Tilly when she's like, if I can do this, will you recommend me for the Starfleet command? And Saru's like, I'll think about it. And then, yeah, we have kind of Burnham showing us the pain of going through the motions of having to exist in this universe. And I thought it was a fun detail when she's like, it doesn't even seem like the stars are as bright here. And like to the point that the Terrans, we know that Lorca has his eye issue because the world is too bright in our empire. So I thought that was like a fun little tie-in there. But yeah, this one is definitely a lot of like trying to tie up some pieces, setting up the conflict to really get us to the big reveal at the end.
Sure. I thought it was really slick how how Burnham got the data off, onto Discovery. I thought that was good. It's good setup. Like I don't necessarily would not have expected it if not for the fact that I've seen it.
Right. Yeah, I do remember even this watch. I went, oh yeah, I forgot that's how she gets the data like off the ship. And I agree. I thought it was like a really fun way to solve that sort of plot point problem for them. Yeah, we get the continued when under surgery kind of business going on. And then, yeah, I don't know. That's kind of it. It really just sets it up. And then it's like Giorgio surprise.
Yeah.
I thought the information shared on the planet from Myrriah was helpful in the idea of like, oh, it's all about the houses, and that I think is really setting us up for the back half of the season in a bit of a way, and how they're going to use Laurel, especially going forward. But I think in this moment, it does feel a little like, oh, okay, we just had to like kind of get through some of the minutia of this particular universe to get us to our bigger setup.
Sure. Yeah, no. I think I think, like I said, like there are 5 episodes, right? 5 in the Terran, and I think the 5 in Terran are really good. I just feel like it's a little not of the Klingon War a bit.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it is. I'll have to remember I will remember because I'll be watching it, but I can't remember exactly like how much time passes as they're in the Terran universe, right? I think if I'm remembering correctly, it ends up being quite a long amount of time that they've been gone. But obviously it doesn't feel like that to them in this particular universe. So it's interesting to see how they're also showing, particularly in this episode, with Burnham kind of being like, this is really hard. It's really hard for me to be here, but I know this is what like I kind of have to do to see if I even have a chance of. I think this is where she really cements that she might have a chance of getting back into Starfleet. To me, this is where that idea kind of pops in for her.
Like I will say this is where like I've always had difficulty with Burnham's character is that maybe I'm being prejudiced because like is systemic or whatever, but like I expect that her Vulcan training would have made her more like able to do it. But like I think
because all of their there's like emotion suppression, but it still goes. I think it is illogical in many ways. The way that they are so flippant about the value of life.
I don't know, like not to. It's
I think
working.
this is Paul logic and not
I'm just saying it's working. Like they're kind of ruling their situation, and aside from a few stragglers, you know what? You know how the Terran Empire falls apart? It's because of Spock. Spock messes everything up.
Oh, in TOS.
In TOS, it's not TOSs per se. You find out in the Next Gen. Basically, what happens is, Deep Space Nine. They do the mirror universe stuff, and the Terrans are all slaves, and they're all slaves because like Spock, was like, hey, we should be nice to each other, and then the Cardassians and the Klingons conquered the Terrans.
Someone's gonna conquer someone in the Terran Empire.
And so I don't know if you go like, oh, take that Terrans. I go like, no, I mean, like, everyone sucks. No one's good
in that world, yeah.
So yeah.
In most worlds, I think.
You know, as Spock said, like it's a matter of cosmic history that it's easier to destroy than to create.
Mm.
You know,
Mhm.
Star Trek 2, baby.
Oh, Star
Uh,
Trek 2.
but in this way, like I kind of feel that I should say, you know, the Terrans. I'm not gonna go too far down this path, but like the Terrans absolutely suck. You know,
Mhm.
they're not great people, but that's by our standards, right? Like there's a version of it. Like imagine if it were Kirk who is trapped in, you know, the Terran universe and had to get back, and he had to be like Lorca in order to, you know, and betray his Terran folks. Would we care, or would he go? Would we go? Those people deserved it.
I mean, I think I think Kirk would also struggle with having to do those things to people who look like the crew that he knows and loves.
Have you met Kirk?
Yes, I think he would struggle. As long as
Maybe.
they weren't wearing a red shirt, I think he would struggle.
I think he would struggle. It was Spock, McCoy, or
Right.
maybe, but like it was any Joe Schmo, like, you know,
Out of here.
out
I
of
guess
here.
so.
No, but this is the thing that I've always like. I felt like it was a really interesting idea to have. Here is this human that was raised by Vulcans,
Mhm.
and I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong about this. Like in season 2, there's no version of it where you really care about it, right? Like, you know,
I
like
think
uh,
it appears in different ways. I think season 1 and season 2 is where she has the most growth as far as finding
mhm,
that
that
balance.
her voice.
Uh-huh, and, like, what she wants to be like going forward with,
Sure.
like, the knowledge and
Mhm.
capabilities that she has from her Vulcan life, but in knowing that she is a fully human person. So it's not something that is like, uh, it is the whole nature versus
Mhm.
nurture, right, conversation.
Yeah, I feel like in season 1, we see her really deal with identity,
Mhm.
and by season 2, like, she's fully integrated in a way that I
I think season
the
2, she's still struggling a bit, and then it becomes more interpersonal, I think. Then it
yeah,
becomes things like love life and all of that kind of
yeah,
stuff
and,
later,
like,
but
dealing with her brother, right? You know, like,
yeah.
season 2 is trying to find her brother, and but
Mhm.
it's all stuff that is external relationship as opposed to how you see yourself. I maybe I'm
Mhm.
like, she's trying to get my mom, trying, you know,
Yeah, but I
so
think a lot of that, like, the external forces her to have that more internal dialogue, I think, with herself. Because I think in season 1, to me, it's more of her overcoming her own actions rather
uh-huh,
than
yeah.
actual self-exploration.
Gotcha. Well, I guess we can revisit this discussion when we watch season 2.
Yes, it's true.
Mm.
We shall see.
Twirly, 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 twirly.
Twirly, twirly. Yes. So next episode, I was looking, and so there's 4 episodes until the end of this particular season.
Oh,
So instead of just doing 3 and then 1 and then jumping into 2, I think we just do the
2
last
and 2?
4. Yeah. Well, no, we'll just do the last 4.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah. So we'll do the last 4 episodes. We'll shoot all the way to the end, because then that will essentially we're doing like a season a month. It's what's
Yeah.
going to
Oh, yeah, sure,
happen
sure. Yeah, yeah, it's great.
to get us to 5. So in preparation for April. So we will be back next week to talk about the last 4 episodes of the season. But before that, Paul, was there anything else you wanted to bring up or discuss about these episodes?
No, I'm good. Like, you know, I'm good.
Yeah, it was really harrowing to think we also potentially could have lost Stamets in this episode, but he obviously comes back to life at the very end. So we didn't kill all of the gays by the end of this. So it's far.
Oh, we are in the
Oh,
Terran universe.
we are in the
Like,
Terran
what if
universe.
we are in the Terran universe? What if we're the Terrans and, like, there's actually a better,
I believe there's some Terrans in this universe.
like,
There are definitely some Terrans in this universe. They've come through a portal, and now we need to find a way to send them home. Anyway, um, Okay, y'all, make sure you subscribe, rate, and review. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, all of the places. The links are at StarTrekPod.co, as well as links to our Patreon. We also have merch. So if y'all are watching on YouTube, you can scroll down. There's a link to our merch. Same thing if you're listening. There's a link to some merch there. If we haven't sold anything, so I haven't made new designs. But if y'all also want something over there, let me know as well. You can find us on socials. We're at Star Trek Pod on Twitter/X and also on Instagram. We appreciate you, Karen, for helping us run everything over on X, that dumpster fire of the internet. Appreciate you so much.
The mirror universe of Twitter.
The mirror universe of X is the mirror universe of Twitter. That's a good way to put it. Okay, y'all, we appreciate you. Live long and prosper.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye y'all.